You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
Hey, glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your host, Keith Wheeler.
And Nuria Corby.
And what are we talking about today, Nuria?
Today, we're going to talk about, should I offer a free lead magnet? What's a lead magnet? I hear everyone ask.
Yes. A lead magnet is basically something that you offer to entice people to come in, usually to sign up for your newsletter, basically to collect email addresses. Is the typical reason why people would use a lead magnet. And there are different things you could do for a lead magnet. Many times, it's something typically short, not something that I don't want to say that you spent a lot of time on, but usually it's not going to be, hundreds of pages long. Sometimes it's only a one-page checklist could be your lead magnet, or it could be, a little pamphlet sized, item.
Yeah. I think the word lead magnet is well known now, but I remember at the time when it's a big thing in blogging. Again, I talk about blogging because that's how I started as well before Amazon. Lead magnet, I thought, what do they mean by that? Because I used to call them freebies. I used to just say, well, here's a freebie. And there's different names you could call it, really. I think there's other names as well. I think, what else did I see the other day? It was a lead magnet and a tripwire or something like that. I can't remember. Something anyway. There's different names for all of this, and in effect, it's what you just said. It's something to entice people or to give people a reason to sign up to your email. That's basically what it is, and you want to give people a reason to sign up to your email because you want to build your email list. You want to have a group of customers, a group of fans that you can then communicate with, and they're your audience. So I think a lead magnet is really important. Would you say that as well?
I do. I think I really think that lead magnets come down to whether or not you should have one is knowing what the purpose of it is for you and your business. If you want to grow your audience, if you want to grow, I don't mean sell more books, which obviously is the end goal. But if you want to grow your audience, if you want to grow the people that you can connect with and make them your audience and not insert platform, here's audience. We had a whole podcast where we talked about email lists in particular. So I'm not going to belabor that too much. But if you want to grow your connections and your customers, then a lead magnet's a great way to do it because it does a couple things, especially if you offer a free lead magnet. It obviously gives you that email list, that where you can connect to people off platform. But it also gives the customer a way to get to know you a little bit more, get to know your offerings. If you're a writer, get to know, your writing style. Is it something that they're interested in without them investing anything? So it's a lot easier for them to do it. There are definitely downsides to having a free lead magnet. We could talk about that in a bit, but I would say in general, I think that having a lead magnet, especially when you first start out, whether you're first starting out in the business or you're first starting out in a particular niche, then I think having a lead magnet to start that deeper relationship with the customer is a great way to start.
Definitely. I think one of the things that when I think back on how I started, and I didn't really give all of that much importance at the time because I think it's because I didn't know how to do it. And I was creating my books. Before that, I was writing my blogs. And I never really thought about, well, how can I get more viewers to my website, or how can I get more people buying my books? I didn't make that connection between having an email list and that getting you more sales in whatever that is, or that getting your giving your business a push up, because with blogging, for example, it's about how many people visit your website, which will then drive up the amount you can get for advertising revenue, or for selling products, or whatever it is that you do with your website. So I hadn't quite made that connection, that the more people come to, I had made that connection, but I hadn't made the connection between the email list and the fact that you can then grow your business through the email list. And you said something there that, when you said grow your audience, I think that was my missing link, because I kept hearing this, grow your audience, but I didn't relate that to growing your sales or making more money, basically. And I think that's why an email list, for starters, is really important. But then also, how do you get people onto that email list? And that's where the lead magnet comes in. And you said you're not sure a free lead magnet is the best way, and I know why that is as well. But I think you have to start somewhere, and sometimes a free lead magnet is a really good way. But then what I would say to people is, even if you're giving something away for free, make that a really good thing, because you want to provide value, and if people see that you're giving away free things that are valuable to them, they will then also buy other things from you, because A, they appreciate it, and B, they know that your paid product will be even better. Hopefully. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do with an email list. And again, we talked about that in another episode, but I agree. I think especially when you're first starting out, like I said, that a free lead magnet is probably your best bet. It's one of the things that I see that many people that are struggling don't have. And maybe it's because they don't want an email list, or they don't want to do a newsletter, which you can do a newsletter without, or you can have an email list without doing a newsletter. So it's not necessarily the same thing, but it can be. But yeah, having a free lead magnet, again, giving quality content, even if it's just a one page or a couple pages, giving something for free. Again, people are more willing to take a chance on something that's not costing them anything but time to read or look at than something that's costing them money. So it's a great way to get those potential future customers, again, get their email addresses so you can connect with them later off platform. But it's also, like you said, a good way to lead into some other offerings that you might do, whether it's, you can offer books exclusive to the people whose email addresses you have. There's a lot of things you can do using that. You can use them as ARC readers to, advanced reader copies to, for your future books, whether it's a puzzle book or, a journal or whatever, or a written book. So there's so much potential you have once you get those email addresses. And again, I think a free lead magnet is a great way when you're first starting out. Again, that said, the biggest issue I see with free lead magnets is the problem you have with free anything. And that is you're going to get freebie shoppers who are there just for something for free. Many times if someone gets something for free, they're probably, like, especially if it's something to read, majority of the time, they're not going to read it all the way through. Because they don't have a vested interest in it. So there's definitely, that's one example. Also, if they're searching for free things, they may be a fraction of them may be more reluctant to actually pay for something that you're going to offer later. So another option is to have a paid lead magnet. A paid lead magnet is something that I've done many times in the past, but usually not before having started with a free lead magnet. You start with a free one, get those email addresses in, and then once you start getting a little more advanced in your business, then you can offer paid lead magnets where, maybe I charge 99 cents or $1.99. Again, nothing that's going to break the bank, but something that's going to at least have a little bit of vested interest to get them to actually, use the content, read it, look at it, check, do the checklist if that's what it is. And also, I know that these people paid, even if it was a small amount, they paid, so they're more likely to pay for something that I'm going to offer down the road. So I don't really think it's an either or. I think starting off with a free lead magnet is a great way to start. It's, lowest barrier of entry, but just knowing, go into that knowing that, only, a certain percentage of those people are actually going to, respond to your newsletter, are going to click on links that you have, or buy, a book that you promote or whatever.
I think you said something. I mean, I agree with everything you just said, as usual. But it made me think that anything can really be a lead magnet, even an expensive course, because if you look at the word lead magnet, it's something that attracts a lead. And even if people buy an expensive course from you or something that costs a lot of money, you've got them as a customer and they're on your email list. So it doesn't necessarily mean that a lead magnet has to be free. And you're right there. And another thing you said, which really struck a chord with me, is I'm one of those freebie buyers, because I've got a whole a folder on my computer that says freebies. And it's full of stuff that I got for free. And do you think I've looked at it? No, I haven't, because psychologically, when you're not paying for something, you leave it there for when you have time to look at it. And I never have time to look at it.
Yeah, so when do we have time, right?
I know. And the things that I do pay for, I tend to look at. So in a way, psychologically, maybe it's not a good idea to give away a lot of things for free. But I do, because I think that there are a lot of people that are just starting out. And I do think they need that initial help and get some things for free, because that's how I started. I made a lot of use of all the freebies that I got back in the day when I was first starting out. But as you progress and as you're busier and you're doing more things, that's when you tend to not have time for too many freebies. I think there's an audience for both, for the free ones and for the paid ones. So but that made me laugh, because I just thought about the folder that I've got on my computer. I need to look at it sometime.
I mean, like I said, when you if you paid for something, there's a much better chance you're going to prioritize it over something you got for free.
Yeah.
That said, I absolutely, again, I think that there's a place in people's business for offering things for free. It really comes down to what you're offering, really. Yeah. And, if you're offering, for example, a checklist, then, offer it for free. If it's something you think is going to helpful, it's going to be helpful. If you think it's something that is almost a necessity, like a good example is if you're a writer and you have, novels out there, then, maybe having especially if you've got a series, maybe having a lead magnet where you give a little background behind one of your characters, a little bit more insight into one of your main characters, maybe one of your side characters, that it doesn't have to be an entire, spin-off book. It could just be a little bit of backstory, things like that. Or, I've seen people who, especially in sci-fi, they'll write up a thing about the technology behind, whatever's in the story, little things like that will interest your readers. It's not something they have to have, but it will interest them. Yeah. Offer that for free, and then if it's something that took more of your time and you think it's, more, it should be something that people pay for, like a prequel, let's say, then that can be a lead magnet that you charge 99 cents for or something along those lines. Yeah. Again, so you're getting a little bit of value from it as far as, monetarily, and there's more chance that they're actually going to consume it because they've paid money for it. But again, I can't stress enough, it's not an either or. I really think it's going to depend on your business, but especially if you're just starting out and you want, maybe you don't have any email list at all, a great way to start is with a lead magnet. Start giving value before they spend a dime. I know there's a lot of stores, at least here in the States, box stores that certain days of the week, usually on the weekend, may give free samples of something, and so it's things like that. They're giving away a sample of this for free, so you buy the full thing. Yeah. It's the same kind of mentality. Like I said, you don't have to use it for a newsletter. Many people do, but you don't have to. If it can be something that, and again, you can check out that episode we did when we talked about email lists and the different uses for it. But it could be something as simple as ways to, you can use those email lists to just notify when your next book is coming out.
Yeah,
it's that simple. It doesn't have to be a newsletter. It could be, the occasional email to let them know this is what's happening.
It's actually, I find it quite fun to think of things, because I think for us it's easy because we are kind of teaching about something. We're not just writers or book creators. Right. We teach about it. And I think then it's easier because we can come up with lots of ideas to help people become a writer or a book creator, whatever. And it's quite fun when there's so many things that you can think of, but it's more difficult in, for example, if you are just a writer and you want to add people to your email list, then it's a little bit more tricky, because what is your lead magnet, unless you give away a free book. But actually it's not that difficult either, because I always say, when you wanting ideas on how to do something, see how other people are doing it and see which ones do you like, which ones resonates with you. Because I have to say that I've also received a lot of lead magnets or freebies that were absolute rubbish.
Yes.
I mean, I thought, is this it? Is this really what I've signed up for? It can be really disappointing sometimes. And it's not always done on purpose. Of course not. They probably thought they did they were helpful, but in some cases you can tell it's not. It was just a sign up thing, because, and then that damages your business more than it helps, I think. So I would say to people, do put a lot of value into your lead magnet. And if you're a writer, I think you probably have more ideas on what to do in that sense. But one thing I like a lot is if you're writing fiction, for example. I really like the ones where they give you a little bit of the same story, but from another character's perspective. So say, for example, you've got Little Red Riding Hood. Well, how about from the wolf's perspective? Or how about Maleficent is a perfect example. That's the Sleeping Beauty story, but then from the view of one of the evil. Is it is that the Sleeping Beauty, or was that Snow White? I can't remember, but it was one of them. So I thought that was brilliant, and that was made into a film. And I like stories like that. I like it when you look at it from a different perspective. And you can incorporate that in a lead magnet if you're a fiction writer. And it doesn't have to be a whole story. It can just be a snippet, or you can do a behind the scenes thing, or just let people know what you're working on next, that kind of thing. And if people are fans, then they love to hear about that. So they're the ideas I can think of for writers, but I'm sure you have more ideas than me on that score.
I think the first thing you need to do is know your audience and ask yourself what kind of information would they be interested in? Yeah. And that's one of the great things about having an email list, is because if you have an email list, you can ask them, but if you don't to start with, then just ask yourself what kind of things would they be interested in? And like you said, check out what some of your, your fellow writers in your niche, what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, like I was saying before, it could be something about, like if you're writing military science fiction, it could be, a little thing about the technology. It could be, like I said, it could be something, where it's, how these two characters met each other. Again, just a little piece of information. It doesn't have to be even a prequel. It can just be, some notes and some, and maybe that's what you're sharing. Maybe literally share the notes that you took before you wrote the book, and if they're your fans, then they'll be interested in that kind of stuff. And when it comes to no content, low content, like for example, a puzzle book. Well, if someone is interested in puzzle books, the best freebie you can give them is a puzzle page, just give them more puzzles, and to get them to sign up, you just, let them know that they're, if you'd like to get more free puzzles like this, sign up for the newsletter, or sign up for the email list. Very simple, but with those email addresses, you have so much potential. And again, I don't want to belabor that, because they can just check out the episode we did on that. I think it was like a 40-minute episode. It was quite a bit of content, quite a bit of content, because there's a lot of things you can do. And it's not just, sending out weekly newsletters. That's just, that's just one area that most people talk about, but there's so many different things you can do with an email list. But I think the most important part is to get that creator customer relationship that's direct, a direct connection with your customer that you can't get if you're, through a platform, through a third party. And so, as we know, having a website is, it's hard to get traffic to your website, because obviously if they buy off your website, then they're your customer. But, having a lead magnet is a good way for you to still get that same connection off when they're buying from a different platform like Amazon.
And it's also a way to get new customers in, because someone might see that lead magnet somewhere, because the other thing is you have to obviously put that lead magnet somewhere so that people can see it, that you've got that. And that could be done on social media. That can be done in your books. You can have a QR code in your books to maybe then lead people to, but they've already bought one of your books, but it's to basically maintain those customers and make them yours, and have that connection, like you said, because that's really important. But there are ways to get new customers as well by creating lead magnets. I think the best way for authors would be through social media, I think. And I'm not, I would have to think about that, but I'm sure there's other ways to get people to stumble across your lead magnet.
Okay. So one thing that you'd mentioned was, putting it inside your book, but people have to buy your book in order to get that QR code or whatever. Actually, if your book is up on Amazon and they have, where they can read a sample, and you've got it in the first couple pages, they can actually see that QR code without even buying your book. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another way that you can do it is doing what people sometimes call a perma-free book, which just means permanently free. So you can put it up on places like Amazon and iTunes and all these, a bunch of different platforms. Now, I will tell you, the Amazon doesn't like the whole free thing, but they will price match. And so if you put it up on, let's say, Draft to Digital for free, and then you can alert Amazon that it's free here, then they'll price match it. So that's something that people have, I know many people do, to have that book permanently up there if it's a book. But again, it could be a page. I mean, you can have it up on Gumroad, you can have it on wherever. I mean, anywhere that you can put a digital product, you can do it in Wattpad, whatever. Again, just like with books, or with anything in business, the more it's out there, the more chances that someone's going to stumble upon it and find it, and then find you. And again, it really comes down to, I mean, it's not always about selling more books initially or selling more whatever. It's in order for you to have a good quality business and stay in business and be consistent, is to be customer minded first. And that goes back to what you were saying before about making sure that this lead magnet is good quality, that it's not just, you're not just putting it up there to put it up there. I'm putting it up there hoping somebody, grabs it. No, put something good up there so they want to grab it.
Yeah.
Because if you're starting that, because that might be the first time they're going to get a relationship with you. So how are you setting expectations from the beginning?
Absolutely. I think that is one of the most important things that you can do. And I think the other thing I think we should mention is that Rome wasn't built in a day, and nor will be
Right.
your email list. I think that
Absolutely.
it puts people off when there's a lot of work and a lot of time involved. You have to be patient to build your email list and to build your whole business, really.
Right.
I think this isn't a business for people who want things to happen quickly. And I see that very often in the groups, and it's not just low content books, it's also writers. I need to make some money quickly. How can I promote my book? And I think you can't make money. I mean, you can be lucky and make money quickly, but
Right.
it's really, this is not the kind of attitude that you should have when you go into this, because it's very likely that it will take you time and that it will
Right.
seem like a long time before you actually make it. And it's about business building, and building something takes time. And I think that's where many people drop out, because they don't see any results after a while. And this whole building an email list and building a following, it sounds like hard work. And actually it is and it isn't. It's hard work when you don't know where to start and you think about it all in one go. And it's like, when you see a big mountain before you, you're not going to jump up that mountain. You're going to take it step by step. And business
Right.
building is the same. You're not
Right.
going to suddenly get to the top. You're just going to take one step, the next step, and so on. And I think if you take it step by step and you just look at the first step and do that, and then look at the second one, and you break it down into manageable pieces, it's so much easier, and it's actually not that bad. And before you know it, you've built an email list. And that's what happened to me in a way. I didn't even realize that I was building it while I was building it. I was, in my mind, I thought, this is going to take me ages. But it happened sooner than I realized. So if you're prepared to start building something and you have that kind of mindset, it can actually happen quite quickly. But it will take time. It's building something. So
Yeah.
it does take work and time. And that's what puts a lot of people off. Do you find that?
I do. And I think,
Yeah.
I think part of it has to do with, what we talked about in another episode, which is setting expectations, which is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Know going in what to expect. Also, one thing that I cannot stress enough, it's just like if you have a brick and mortar business, you have one email address, that's a customer.
Yeah.
You treat that one customer as if you had 1 million customers, and that's why, a lot of little small mom and pop businesses, why they stay around is because of, those people that have been there since the beginning. They've got that, that relationship, that rapport with them. And so it's not something that's going to be done overnight. And I'll be honest, email lists is one of the things that most people put off far longer than they should, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because really going, and again, I don't want to, kind of beating over the same thing over and over again, but if they're the only real customers you have, the ones that you can rely on, the ones that you can reach out to whenever you want, and within reason. And you're basically connecting to them at their front door. They're right there on their computer that you can connect with them. And that's the most intimate relationship that you can get with a customer is having their email address. And so while I understand it's not something that you have to do right at the beginning, I do think it's one of those things that you should do earlier than you think you should. Because like you said, it is going to take a while to get, to get that up and going. And the technology behind it doesn't take long. It's just, you're putting something out there. Once you create it, you're putting something out there, and you're going to get crickets to begin with. It's going to take a while for people to find it. Obviously the more places you have it, you're increasing your chances. But but again, it's something that is going to take time. And
Yeah.
for that reason, like I said, majority of the time I would say start it sooner than you think you need it. So that way, when you do quote need it, it's already there. It's already established. You already have, however many people. I mean, I've had email lists that have, less than 100 people. I've had some that have, 10. And, it depends on your niche. It depends on what kind, what you're creating. But the important thing is if you even have one, you treat them as special as if you had 1 million.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with you there. And I like the point you made about better do it as early as possible, because I kind of sometimes think, don't do it straight away. And the only reason I think that way is because some people stop themselves from starting because they're thinking about too many things right at the beginning. Like,
right.
I know people who haven't even published a book yet. And they're asking me things like, how do I set up my tax? Or how do I set up my author website? And I'm thinking, by doing that, they haven't published a book yet. And by thinking like that, they're overwhelming themselves, really.
Right.
So, right. And an email list kind of is part of that. So I don't want people to get overwhelmed, but you're absolutely right when you said the earlier, the better. Right. So maybe the email list is one of the things that you should think about early on. Your website and all that can come later, and especially your taxes, because you don't know how much you're going to earn yet.
Right. Well, I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, I wouldn't say an email list is something you need to do like immediately, because let's be honest, you might not enjoy the book publishing business. No sense in adding more steps, to your to-do list if you don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I would say once you start in the business, if you are enjoying it, so you think you're going to be doing, once you decide that this is something I want to do either long term or this is something I want to do, I guess is the best way to put it. You've done it, you enjoy it, this is something you want to do. That's when you should start working on at least thinking about creating a lead magnet. So you can start working on that again as early as possible, without, like you said, getting super overwhelmed about it, without putting the cart in front of the horse. Where you're working on this other stuff before you even know. One, do I enjoy this? And two, let's be honest, am I good at it? Because you can enjoy it all you want, but it may take a while before you get good at it. And if you're not willing to put in that time to become a better writer, become a better, low content creator, whatever, then there's no sense in having a newsletter or an email list either. So making sure it's something that you enjoy, something that you're good at, or at least you're willing to get good at it, you're willing to put in that time and effort, then is when you should start. I just don't want you to be in the boat that I was in, where I literally waited like 5 years. And so then it's like, I feel like I felt like I was so far behind, and because I kept putting it off. And that in my business, that is probably the biggest thing that I kick myself over, is not starting it as soon as I could have. And, even after I started it, not being as consistent as I should have. Once I was doing it and I had the consistency, that's when I really started seeing the value in it.
Perfect. I mean, when you just said that you could kick yourself, I thought I could kick myself. I never did it for my previous business, for the jewelry business.
Yeah.
I just didn't have a clue and thinking now, I'm thinking, oh my God, I could have really built that business up. Too late now. But then again, if I had built that one up, maybe I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And I really enjoy what I'm doing now. Yeah. So, and I think that coming back to what you said earlier, I think that if you enjoy something, there's more of a chance of success, I think, even if you're not very good at it. Yeah, but like you said, you can learn,
Well, because that enjoyment comes off. It comes off in the products you create, whether it's a physical product or digital, doesn't matter. Like you were saying with the jewelry, we talk a lot on this podcast about books and about, mainly running an online at-home business. But many of these things, like lead magnets, it could absolutely be used in a physical business as well. I mean, matter of fact, a client I had who had hired me a few years ago to format their book and upload it to KDP for them. He's a lawyer, and so he actually was creating a lead magnet that was all about tax, because he's a tax lawyer, all about tax advice, things that people should know, and it was actually, to be honest, it was a lot longer than what I would normally suggest giving away as a lead magnet. But again, he's a lawyer, so he's, his normal, he doesn't normally do books, his normal fees is, a lot higher than, what you and I get for royalties, and so for him, that, it was all about giving that extra value. And, of course, his name's all over the book. It's inside the book, his number's in there. And so again, it's way better than giving a business card. I'll tell you that.
That is actually a really good point. And even if you're not in the publishing business, if you've got any other business, I can think of an example here because this happened. If you're a hairdressing business, you can create a book as a lead magnet, and I know someone who did that. They created an appointments book for hairdressers. I think they were a hairdressing supplies company or something, and they created this book. And that book had their logo and their address and their details in it. And obviously hairdressers buy that book, and then they know where to go for their supplies. And I can give you lots and lots of different examples for that.
Right.
If you have a dog walking business, you can have a dog walker planner. Or if you have a beauty salon, you can have a beauty salon appointments book. There are a lot of, books can be lead magnets for other types of businesses.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to stand out in your business compared to your competitors, and again, it goes back to, many books, many things in general are the most successful are created based on a necessity. So, even if it's not something you need, if it's something that that your customers would need, it's a great way to create. And they don't have to be 110 pages or anything like that. They can be small. And many times it's better because it's less overwhelming to the end user, especially if they're not familiar with doing that, that kind of, whether it's a checklist or whatever, giving them something as, like you said, as a lead magnet, giving them something that's maybe only, 10 pages long, 10, 15 pages long, something to kind of just get them started, get a taste of what it is. And, again, getting more familiar with you as a brand.
Mm. And above all, make it helpful. That's, if it's of help to somebody, they will like that lead magnet. They'll find value in it. If it's no use to them, it'll go in my freebie box. So, it's all about offering something that people appreciate, that they find helpful, and so that they become your customer and they're happy to be your customer. So that's what it's all about.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Well, this has been another great mastermind, Nuria. Once again, a huge thank you to all our listeners and viewers who came to tag along. If you enjoyed today's mastermind, please consider following or subscribing to the podcast, and maybe even leave us a review and let us know what you thought. Until next time, I'm Keith Wheeler.
And I'm Nuria Corby.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining the mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.